40 chess. Yeah. 40 chess. 40 chess. Let's get it.
Yo, is that T-Dog?
40 chess. 40 chess. Hey. 40 chess. This a trade show. Patreon where the trades go. Tap in and watch. That's what you came for. Ain't gotta say my name. They know my name, bro.
What's good, man?
We got McNutted in ATM. Always start off the show with a trade from them. You should always make sure that your trade is in. Patreon, why not be a Patreon? Know you wish you could spend every day with them. Tap in and say what you gon' say with them. South Harmon can fill up a stadium. Next time you log in, make sure that you bring a friend. We about to kick off, let the day begin. Go follow the socials. 40 Chess FF is posted. If your trade is an F, you get roasted. Go like and subscribe for the crew. Apple, Spotify, and the YouTube. You know Cooper got the warp too. Let us give you a walkthrough. 40 Chess. This is 40 Chess.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Dynasty Trade Show. So glad you could join us. Just a reminder, if you want your deals featured, patreon.com/South Harmon. $5 tier gets you access to the Trade Show channel, plus a whole hell of a lot more. But, Adam, buddy, you like the new setup? First Trade Show with the new setup?
Love it.
We're good?
Love it, man.
Listen.
Got the Ohio State and South Harmon, like, right within iBird's view, and you're kind of covering the Iowa. All of a sudden, it's like, okay. Now,
Oh, other way. Let's get back.
There you go. Now, if you do that, you cover the Ohio State, then it's Bengals and Iowa, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't know. So,
What are you doing? I get you.
kind of roll that chair where you want, you know?
Speaking of it, I got a nice little blank space right there on that shelf over my left-hand shoulder, third one down. I think it's time for me to go hit up Ultimate Autographs. Signed sh.it. Signed sh.it. Let me see if I can cop another helmet, man. The spot looks lonely down there. I think I need to put another one down there. Maybe I need an Eagles one finally.
What do you
finally win an Eagles helmet? For Christ's sakes.
If you had it your way, what would you get Eagles-wise? Like, what specific player, I guess?
Oh, there's so many good ones. Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb. Current players, A.J. Brown, Smitty, Saquon, if he's got a signed Eagles helmet out.
That'd actually be kind of sweet. A new Saquon
Jalen
joint.
Hurts. Yeah, I'd take one.
Of course. What about Carson Wentz?
I still keep it. I still got a Carson Wentz jersey and a T-shirt.
What about Nick Foles?
Yeah,
Title?
BDN.
Title? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'd take BDN. I'd take an Eagles Super Bowl trophy down there, too.
That'd actually be kind of sweet. A replica Lombardi with someone's signature on it. That'd be pretty sick, actually.
That'd be pretty dope. Yep, I'm going to go hit up Ultimate Autographs, I think, here real soon and see if I can't cop something else to put in that spot because it's looking lonely. It's looking sad.
But if you're like Mike and you want to get, you want to shoot your shot and try to, you've got every team not Eagles at this point. So you're going to get,
pretty much.
You're probably going to get something. It just may not be exactly what you want, but there's some pretty dope gear there. So make sure you're checking out Signed Shit. Now, Mike, we have been trying to get a deal done and couldn't. So what we're going to do is
first time ever. First time in show
I know.
history.
We got Mike, it's an end of an era, we'll call it. But I think what this does require is a trip down memory lane. Back when you and I were making trades back and forth with each other, and this was before we were even doing the trade show, which is pretty awesome. So let's have our own little say on this. 3 years later, damn near.
There it is. July 16th of 2021. You got to put a little sounder in there, right? Like, can you put a little sounder in there for me, Adam? Like, just back down memory lane. Sounder without you muted. That's what we'll try.
I got you on the sounder.
Let's go.
And let me just. The interesting part about this, so this is well before, well, I shouldn't say, Warp was around. We just didn't know how to calculate it efficiently at the time, okay? We weren't talking about Warp, okay? And the fact that this is a 12-team Superflex PPR with only a half-point tight end premium in a best ball, we didn't even really, at this point, this was our first time kind of getting our feet wet as far as Dynasty best ball, too, this year, was when we kind of did our first plethora of startups. So this trade, in hindsight, in all kinds of ways, is interesting. But in this trade, Mike took advantage of me being drunk and gets Brandon Ayuk. This is a day trade, too. Day drinking, we'll call this one. Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, and Rondale Moore, which Jerry Jeudy and Rondale Moore, for the hindsight of this, may not feel like much, but this was when those guys are kind of at their peak of hype, all those receivers. So you got Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, Rondale Moore. I'm trying to get Kyle Pitts from you in only a half-point tight end premium league. I also get the corpse, even at that time, of Jared Dokes, Quandre Olison, Samis Reyes, who we fought each other over every single startup to get very, very late, and a 2023 third, which will be interesting to bring up what that becomes. But anyway, Mike, walk us through this deal, buddy. Trip down memory lane.
This was. And I think over the years, you and I have gone back and forth on who won this deal. Like, it's good. We'll put it to bed tonight. Recording this show 3 years later, right? There was a time, right? You had massive amounts of trade remorse after this got done, right? We're super high on Rondale Moore, Jerry Jeudy. We still had the hopium
before he was in Cleveland, and I'm not happy about it.
Still had the
see that says
hopium.
Wide receiver Denver.
Brandon Ayuk just came off a fantastic rookie season, and we're like, there we go.
Yep.
Kyle Pitts was just almost untouchable. Like, how are we ever gonna top Kyle Pitts, right?
Kyle Pitts was coming off of I think, at least in some regards, historic rookie season. And, my goodness, so many things. But he was a first-round startup pick, believe it or not. It's been not so great a day since.
So when we made this trade, Kyle Pitts hadn't even played a game yet. This is just off rookie hype.
This was just rookie hype? I thought this was...
Yep.
Yeah, no, you're right. This is going... Okay, this is just the hype of Kyle Pitts. You're correct.
He hadn't even played a game, but 6'6", 250-pound tight end who goes what did he go, 5th overall?
Yes. Was it 6th?
Fourth overall. It was even better. I had to look that up. I know it went.
I know it was. I know it was super early, but yep.
4th overall tight end. Yeah, I think right after you did have a lot of buyer's remorse, didn't you? You're like, oh, you got me. You weaseled one out of me.
Yeah, I was. Well, at the time, I was kind of trying to solve the tight end position for a long time, which in best ball you didn't need to do. Obviously, hindsight 2020. And I was like, I was willing to kind of forego. At this point, you and I were very much of the train of wide receivers don't matter. So I'm like, I'll get these guys back in some other fashion. So I knew I was kind of overpaying, but I guess in the moment I just wanted Kyle Pitts so bad I didn't realize until the next day, like, why the hell did I do this? But
right,
that happens whether you're drinking or not. Sometimes you just look back like, damn, I wanted a player so bad.
Well, then the 21 season happens, if you remember. Kyle Pitts goes on to have a historic rookie tight end season, and Brandon Ayuk was in the doghouse that year. He was in the Shanahan doghouse.
He started in the doghouse. He had a really nice finish, though.
Jerry Jeudy continued to disappoint. And Rondale Moore never really did anything.
He flashed very, very briefly,
He flashed very, very briefly. Yeah. He had like one game, I think, in best ball where
I remember that one game, though, Mike.
Very fondly.
I very, very vividly remember T-Rock wanting to buy from me and Fade the Fetal Rondale Moore for a 23 first. And I told him, I'm like, nah, this was like, Rondale Moore hype was high. Then he just had that blow-up game well over 100 yards. I'm like, I need that second. He wouldn't do it, and Mike, I just look back all the time, just really sad about that one, too. So Rondale Moore, there's a double whammy. But yeah, he had one really nice game, and then the rest of his career has kind of been meh.
Quandre Olison at the time of the trade was in an ambiguous backfield. I love that J.J. Zacharyason's using that like every other word on his podcast.
That's fair.
Ambiguous back. Right, it was just the Mike Davis show. You remember the quads, the picture of him with the quads?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is a shout out. It's weird that this timing came up because he just announced officially his retirement. Like, he'd been retired technically for years, but he was in an ambiguous backfield. We didn't know if Quandre might get some work. Jared Dokes was like a nice little sleeper, undrafted free agent prospect we liked, and Samis Reyes, athleticism out the ass, but never really played American football before. And you and I were fighting over him. So the pieces at the time, it's interesting to see now, like, they're inconsequential, But to travel back in time in the time machine, it was like, oh yeah, I remember them feelings. Like I wanted some Quadre Allison, I wanted some Jared Dokes, I wanted some Sammy's Reyes. I wanted all these turd burners who ended up being absolutely nothing. Brandon Ayuk, right after the 21 season, I would say like you probably felt like, all right, I might have got Mike over on this one. I got him.
Well, one thing I wanted to touch on real quick about that too is, at the time, it's easy, and now many years removed, seeing it over and over. There's gonna be some names, some fake names, kind of in this time. It's a down period, right? There's just not much going on, and we talk so long in Dynasty about just guys that have a pulse. So any type of beat report on these guys, which was just, I mean, now you look at this now, and if you can't go back in time and really understand what it was like then, you're like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But there's going to be some names, if you pay attention enough, that you were excited for, and you're like, oh man, they don't even make rosters. They literally don't have careers. So just kind of understand that when you're buying in best ball too, right? You're thinking, all right, I'm at least Kyle Pitts, and these guys, they're bodies. They'll give me something. Well, that's not necessarily true. Everything else, other than the pick, gave me nothing but a roster clogger that I had to cut.
What do you think about 2022 then? I'm back on top, right? Ayuk comes out, has a pretty decent year. Judy.
The big thing was Judy's back half
something.
of the season. Remember the back half of the season, he really came alive, and people were like,
really
okay,
did.
maybe he's got some rapport with Russ. And yeah, at the end of 2022, it was such a swing of the pendulum because, I mean, I'll put it like this: you hadn't lost a deal in 2021, other than Kyle Pitts was just at a crazy peak. And I was just at that point. You're probably like at that point, all right, well, trade was dumb, but at least Kyle Pitts is that dude. Well, in 2022, what's that?
If you would have sold Kyle Pitts after the 21 season, Adam, I think you'd feel even better about it than looking at it now.
Well, if you could actually get someone to send you 3 legitimate pieces for him, which at the time there's probably a chance you could, but
yeah,
you still have to find someone that has 3 assets. They'll send them all for Pitts. If I would have done that for sure, but I also had Pitts love that I couldn't get rid of. I only had so many shares; it was basically impossible to acquire him at that point. So
yeah.
Then at the end of 2022, the pendulum completely flipped. It's like a seesaw. And now I'm on the bottom, and you're at the top of the seesaw. Now I think.
So here we are in 2024.
So we have all of last year where Kyle Pitts basically replicated disappointment again.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ayuk, though, at this point has finally claimed. You know what's funny, Mike? Brandon Ayuk has finally claimed, like really in the community, the place that we had held him in the regard at this time, which was like a top 15 wide receiver.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
Kind of a weird roundabout way to get there, where the community now is all bought in. And even with the uncertainty for him, his price really isn't dipped much. But everything else in the trade is inconsequential, I think. In best ball, Jerry Jeudy's still a body, and probably a plus body, if I'm being honest. But Rondale Moore, obviously Dokes, Reyes, and Olsen 0. The third became Musgrave after going into the 2023 season, which I think makes the trade a little more palatable. I still would say that knowing everything, I'd still probably lean your side, just because the biggest kicker here of all of it is not just all the information of moving parts and changing of rosters, or not rosters, but the value of the assets. The biggest kicker here is that I don't care about the tight end position. And that was the problem all along, is that I was trying to consolidate all these really high-end, valued at least, wide receivers for a tight end in a format that didn't need to be doing it anyway.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Looking at the deal now, right? If we just broke it down to its pieces that still matter. Musgrave and Kyle Pitts, or Jerry Jeudy and Brandon Ayuk in this league, a half-point tight end premium best ball. Which side would you take?
I would take the Ayuk side, just because I would have Ayuk ahead of Pitts by enough that where Jerry Jeudy and Musgrave to me probably are, coin flip, whatever. I don't even care who you prefer there. I wouldn't argue either way. But the Ayuk portion being a receiver and top 15 version, young enough. I'll say that the upside Kyle Pitts possesses, if the quarterback play in him actually happens, is really tantalizing. But I also, in this format, just don't care enough. So I would side with the Ayuk side still.
if Kyle Pitts goes on to finish as a top 3 tight end, right? Knowing what we know about WARP and being able to look at the graphs, just historically, you can kind of expect a 1.3 WARP.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at Ayuk, if he finishes top 15, which is within his range of outcomes, he is also at a 1.3. So the trade really then comes down to Judy or Musgrave. And I think both you and I would agree between the two, even though we probably don't like Judy as much as maybe some people still do, holding on the hopium. I think you'd rather have Jerry Judy.
Well, I'll say this. I'd say probably. I will admit, though, Judy is probably, I'd say, more name cachet than true value. Now, I'm not telling you that I wouldn't roster Jerry Judy. It'll be interesting to see what he becomes with the Browns. But I will say that Luke Musgrave, at least what we think of the player, what we kind of project, he's probably one of the – like I don't really want to have the high-end one like Kyle Pitts truly in this format, right? But I want to have still in this format probably 4 to 6 tight ends in the range very much where Luke Musgrave is. So I think I could make the case for Musgrave or Judy there. That's why I say like I wouldn't really fight you either way. I don't think it's like a guarantee either way just because the tight end position, I definitely want to just backfill with crusty guys even much lower than Luke Musgrave. But I think just the way that I would approach the position now without needing to have a Kyle Pitts, you give me Musgrave, you give me, I don't know, Tyler Conklin, Colby Parkinson. You just give me a bunch of those type names, and I'm good. So that they do tend to pop up on waiver wire, but all the time you see wide receivers where you're like, Pop Douglas was available, I think, in almost every format. Like there's just so many guys that pop up every year on the waiver wire at receiver too. So that's where I think that one's kind of negligible. But to your point, I could definitely, if you want to make the case for Judy, I wouldn't fight you at all.
Interesting, too. Neither one of us ever won this league.
No, well, Mike, I was in a productive. The funny part is at the point, like from what I was thinking then versus what I would be thinking now, it's just so funny looking back. At the time, it was like, all right, I had acquired every single pick in the 23 class in this league. And I'm like, all right, all I need now is just give me the tight end position. You know, just give me the guy that's going to be the next Travis Kelce, and I'll just figure the rest out. I'm going to draft all the running backs in the 23 class. My team's going to be great. Well, the running back position, still won them in best ball, but absolutely no one cares. The tight end position I don't need. And, Mike, I was productive struggling thinking that this last year was going to be my year. I did an interesting case study where I had in the shit OG league almost all the picks in the 23 class, and in this league I did have all the picks in the 23 class. And we'd done a bunch of podcasts on it, but I wanted to, since I had the rare opportunity to have two of them, let's go ahead and see what would happen. Where this one, I drafted all the players, and for the most part just kept them. I think I made a trade with you for Quentin Johnson and Puka, but I think aside from that, I basically kept all the rookies for the most part that I drafted. The other league, I basically tried to trade as many of the picks or the players as possible and get a blend. That league, I ended up winning. This league, I also missed the playoffs again. So a team that I thought would be a contender with all that young hopium, Mike, didn't even make it. It was a 7 seed. So I've yet to make the playoffs. I feel really good about my team now, but this is 3 years of dues in, you know?
3 years in. Well, I'm also 3 years in. I guess I got 1 second place money finish to like show for it out of 3 years, and we'll see what happens this year.
So you got you at least got you should at least have paid your dues with that, right?
Yeah, well, pretty close.
There you go.
Maybe down a year, -1.
Okay, close enough. I mean, you know, you have a portfolio to offset a loser anyway.
Actually, the second place payout is
$150.
$150.
That's what I was thinking. It was a $450, $150. Boom, done.
Broke even. This year is we'll just see what happens, right? I'm actually paying for this year.
I need second place just to pay for all the dues, you know. So we'll see.
Well, maybe you get that first this year.
Yeah, I hope. Well, we'll see. I really like my team, but it took me a long time to get it going, and it took a lot of trades like this for everyone watching. You want to, you know, oh, that seems crazy. The way you're looking at trades. Just know that I've made a bunch of terrible trades. I could pull up a bunch of terrible trades and show you a lot of the experience along the way that trying to help you from having to go down the path of having to experience all of it. But, you know, it's kind of like the stove, Mike. Some people just want to touch it. They need to touch it to know it's going to burn them.
That's a good one. If we didn't have a trade of our own, a current trade of our own, That's the next best way to start the show off. Let's go way back in memory lane.
That one
Way
was
back to the old school.
that one was it was interesting. We made a series of trades around that time, and that's what actually that whole thing, all those trades and talking as much as we did. That's kind of how this whole entire thing started, frankly. So that trade may look crazy to you. What are you doing? Why are you giving so much detail on this? But one of the interesting parts of that whole ramble is that all those trades that we were making at the time, which some look terrible on my side, some look terrible on his side, probably most look terrible on my side. I actually don't know. But that's basically how we started the entire podcast and where we're at today. So if you like this trade show, you need to at least pay homage to the old way.
Well, true. You know, there's somebody out there that had Jared Dokes on their 40 Chess Dynasty Trade Show fucking bingo card that they were just like, they were waiting to mark off Jared Dokes. So congratulations to you out there with the Jared Dokes on your fucking bingo card.
Jared Dokes, man. Jared Dokes out of Cincinnati gave you nothing.
Ever.
Yeah. Well, he gave me something. A fucking blue balls and terrible. It's like herpes, man. This shit just won't go away now. Mike, 3 years later, it's popping up on the screen. Let's talk about a trade that was going to start it off before deciding just to put one of ours up. Big Corey and Roster Baiter, two OG shitheads here. Mike, what do you think of this trade here? Josh Jacobs and Colby Parkinson for a 25 first. I'm going to read the settings, but just right there, it's like, Cody, I know the way he plays, right? Cody and I, Mike, have been playing in leagues since 2021. Cody, I don't know if did you play with Cody in leagues before that 2021 season?
Sure did.
So so Mike and him even play
2019. Yeah.
So Mike and him even have 2 years prior dealing with him and his antics and builds. I get it. He leans into the contending side, so I'm not like uber surprised to see this. But 12-team Superflex PPR, 0.75, tight end premium, best ball start 11, all flex, Superflex. So that part does pay, I guess, is a part of it. You don't have to have a quarterback. It's all Superflex spots, right? But I don't know, man. This is probably not the way I'm spending my capital.
So I'm in this league with these guys. So it's all flex and then 2 Superflex spots, right? You don't have to have a quarterback, but you also don't need running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Everything else is just flex. So 9 flex spots, 2 super flex spots. Adam, it's funny you bring up Roster Baiter, and we started it off with an old trade, and we kind of see how our process has evolved with Warp and what matters and what doesn't really matter and how to look at leagues. And then we got old Roster Baiter here, still doing the same shit he was doing back in 2019. I respect him. Him for it, but he's never adapted. He's a fucking dinosaur.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I will say I have seen Cody, especially in best ball, put together these squads where you're looking at a single trade like this and you're like, okay, like why? But it's almost like in a weird way, Mike, it's like he kind of gets his back against the wall by making trades like this, and then he just kind of out-hustles people, beats people with, accumulating depth. So it's something I've seen time and time again. I guess I just don't understand a trade like this per se. But I just don't even see here, at least in the scoring, because I'm not in this league, something that's boosting up the running back position. Now we can talk about the warp in the league, but that part's interesting too.
They're pretty much below running backs. Quarterbacks run this league, Adam, and even with the 0.75 tight end premium and all the flex spots, tight ends don't really matter unless you hit on the number one guy. So not the biggest of deals. Corey definitely listens to me for sure. When I've been screaming to sell Josh Jacobs, that he got it done. He found his fish. Cody, on the other hand, doesn't listen to me. The only thing I'll say for his is he doesn't have a bad team. So to push his first in already,
right?
There's not a lot of downside. Me and a couple other guys took over orphans in this league from some really bad teams. I'm not kidding you, Adam. This was it was a dispersal draft with 3 or 4 of us, and it was the worst dispersal I've ever fucking seen for 4 people. Yeah, for 4 teams being in it, I was like, this is dog shit.
Really?
This is fucking atrocious. So it's very top heavy league, and Cody's one of the top heavy guys. So if you are going to be willy-nilly with your future draft capital, right, and pushing it in already on a running back in June, Do it in a fucking league where it's extremely top heavy and you don't have to worry really about that falling out of the playoffs, right? It's going to take a fucking miracle for that to be outside the playoffs. It really is.
Yeah.
Because the bottom 4 dispersal teams are god awful, me included.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't going to just looking at the lab. Like I wasn't even going to say much about obviously the risk and the reward of the pick. I wasn't even going to go much down that path, like just assuming this is a mid or later pick. The problem I have is, I guess, less with that and more so, I mean, maybe he just doesn't look at Warp, or when he's team building and trading assets, he doesn't necessarily care as much. But I see, let's say he's running back 12 to 18. I feel like that'd be a fair place to slot him.
That'd be a nice year, and I say he's actually going to be worse, but 12 to 18, I like it. Let's start there.
But the reason I wanted to use that 12 to 18 is because if you're paying a first for him, you probably believe that that's more the range. Like I think that's very much in the range of outcomes, but probably on the higher side. But I'm trying to give a realistic. He stays healthy, he plays well, so you get what the idea you're trying to trade for. I look at the warp in that though, Mike, and we're not even sniffing 1 yet. We're like at 0.75 to 0.6. So I struggle with it because I think, all right, a 25 first, what I can do with that and how flexible I am to move that pick. To now I am slotted in with Josh Jacobs and Colby Parkinson got a nice little bag. He might actually be relevant. So in a format like this, I get it, but I feel like now I'm gridlocked with these two till week 5 or something, where there's some kind of, maybe at that point you see Josh Jacobs have a blow-up week or something, and Colby Parkinson comes off of a touchdown game or two. It's like I'm just basically locking these two in my lineup, and I'm done with my flexibility. So that's the problem I have with it. Not necessarily that it can't pay out. I just, even when I see it panning out for you, like unless you think Josh Jacobs is going to have a top 6 season at the running back position, it's probably not like, okay, you look back, you're like, damn, you won this trade.
Big Corey out here fleecing people again.
By the way, Big Corey and I were the other two. I was trying to get a deal done all day, man. I'll tell you one thing. This time of year is difficult, and apparently a lot of these shitheads are difficult. Big Corey sent me an offer. Mike, I want you to listen to this, all right? I want you to listen to how much he does listen or pretends. He sends me an offer of Rachaad White for a 25 first. Okay? He wants me to take Rachaad White. This is a day after on BDG's. We had a video, an entire video about how nobody could move Rachaad White for a first.
I love the guy.
I mean, come on. Like this is the type of offers we get now. It's like, damn, man. That's and then he tried to act like, oh, I didn't see that video yet. Yes, you did. The timing's too real.
What was it? I was on with Matty Keywom on Saturday.
Yeah.
Talking about doing deals or whatever.
On the player profile site, yep.
Yeah. And how it's hard to get deals done in shithead leagues with people who know what I do, but
sure.
Listen, I just want fucking offers. Send offers and we'll start there. Right. And I also talked about with Matty, a key point I think Corey might have missed was I prefer when people send offers that they're close, not like this is my starting offer and it's so fucking egregious. It's how do I even work with it? So Corey sends me 6 fucking offers in different leagues and they're all fucking terrible.
I know one of them. And I was actually a little surprised. The offer, well, I know one of them. I'll just say that. But he told me you said dreamy was your response or something like that. Or no, you've been drinking. You told him.
I said it doesn't help that you're drunk.
There you go. Yep. See?
And then I called him Dynasty Alex. Shout out Dynasty Alex.
Dynasty Alex, if you're still out there, we love you, buddy. We love you sincerely. Shout out Lakeland, Florida. Anyway, I don't know. This trade I think we can move on from. Big Corey, I think is the winner of the deal.
Lakeland, by the way.
Did you, bro? When?
Yeah, my stepmom used to live in Lakeland.
Interesting. So the reason I know that, so he told me Lakeland, and Mike, so I watched the biggest that big comeback, the Patriots versus the Falcons, in a bar down there called Linksters. My buddy at the time, Aaron, was living down there, claiming he wanted to try to go, get his tour card, and it didn't happen. But was down there, and we were getting at. I'll tell you one thing: if you know Lakeland, Florida, you know Linkster's downtown, and that place. I was fucked up, buddy, and I was excited watching that comeback. At that point, it was just like the lead was so big, and you're like, I just want to see this happen, and it ended up happening.
Yeah, I was in 7th grade though, so
okay, no,
I probably don't know shit about Linksters.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to hear about a Mike drinking a little bit in 7th grade, but probably not at the bar. Not quite to that level. I get you.
I didn't have the beard yet; they wouldn't serve me.
That'd have been a pretty sweet story. Like, yeah, man, I was in there. Just getting no carded. All right, let's talk about the valedictorian, Corey Schumer. And then Tom Brady 20. I was looking for the dot there. I was going to say 2.0 made kind of sense, but it just says 20. Jared Goff, a 25 first and a 25 second, or ARich, Mike here. Lineup start 10 is another part that's very relevant when I'm looking at this trade, but what side are you on here? ARich or Jared Goff in that first and second from Tom Brady's team?
Without looking at the actual warp, Adam, I've been doing work on 4-point versus 6-point passing touchdowns. But without looking at the actual warp to really determine what the difference is between the two, I'm not going to lie to you here. I know Corey's the valedictorian, but I think I might rather have fucking ARich in a lineup start 10, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean,
ARich has got that fantasy, breaking ceiling. He really does. And I know people get mad because he only played a couple games and he's already shown he's injured. Whatever. Shut the fuck up. I'll fucking say, shut the fuck up. Stop being a negative Nancy.
No, nobody's saying he's flawless. He has nothing that can go wrong, but you can't deny the upside.
I'm just gonna fucking predate the YouTube comments and tell you to shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. I love Anthony Richardson.
I want you to comment anyway, but yeah, shut the fuck up.
Still comment anyways, but comment then shut the fuck up. Whatever.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
I want Anthony Richardson. I really do. And I don't really understand the big hype around Jared Goff. He's a non-mobile pocket passer. I know he got the bag. People are excited about it. He just screams like QB 14, 15 if the top quarterbacks stay healthy. And we regress back to what we've seen and kind of what you and I have been theory crafting essentially. Is this the new norm of quarterback scoring being down, or maybe they adapt to this zone defense and they stay healthy for a season? And if they do and they get back to these fucking 25, 26 points per game ceilings that we've seen in the past, in recent memory, 20, 21, 22, 23 and 23 has been 22 and 23 has been kind of shaky, right? Maybe we get back to that the OG days. Anthony Richardson will win you a fucking league by himself. He really good. He's got that ceiling. So Goff is fine, but I'm okay up tiering to ARich. But I don't know what warp in team construction is, so just my initial reactions is ARich here.
So let me just give you I think the process play, right, is actually still Corey's side. I'm with you 100%, though. I want ARiches. I want the ARich here. I want ARiches. I want all them riches. When I look at the warp, though, right, so this is the way I'm viewing it. Just using last year's warp numbers, just for kind of ideas for where players can finish at the quarterback position. So Josh Allen was at 3.05 in this league. Jalen Hurts 2.9. Dak Prescott 2.7. Lamar 2.68. Then we got a little gap here. Jordan Love was 2.17. But okay, so the reason I like Jordan Love is kind of more. There's a big gap between him and Lamar there, right? Now you go down a little bit. It's not super far off that Jared Goff was 1.77. So I think when I think about it, ARich to me has all the upside to be that 2.6 to 3 warp, and probably if you hit that thing right on the tits, man, it could probably go higher. Like ARich is just he's something that we've never seen before. I really hope we get a chance to see it because it's going to be fun as hell to watch. Now Jared Goff, I think though, with the contract and with his situation, skill players, I think there's a real chance where. Like last year in this league, warp-wise, he was quarterback 11. So I'm with you in sentiment where I think, though, he's more like a back-end quarterback 1 if he continues to play well. So I get the process play of like, all right, let me get that as my maybe quarterback 2 if you're Corey here, and I'm going to get the first and the second. The thing is there, I'm kind of hoping I would think that you're betting against the team. I don't know if you can pull up the lab or if you have. That's part of what I'm interested to see maybe as the tiebreaker here, because I get the process play, especially if you're just a little more risk averse, because you're like, all right, ARich, while upside is there, if he gets hurt again or he doesn't actually pan out, I'm netting a first and a second here. What does the team Tom Brady 20 look like?
Yeah, so I gave you my answer out of context, and now with the full amount of context, and Warp didn't change anything on this one, just so you know. The lab changed this whole fucking thing because Tom Brady 20's team is fucking atrocious.
Okay, so that was going to be, though, where, like, if I'm willing to bet against somebody, this is absolutely worth the process, frankly. Now, it's really hard for me to let go of ARich because you saw I did a video on here not too long ago. I'm gonna be talking about him on another video coming out soon. It's just I want all the ARich I can, but if I'm getting Goff and the first and the second of a team that's abysmal, all right, you threaded the needle. I think. How are you telling me it's like the worst?
Redraft wise, in like 2024, well, we know what happens with rookies. Yes, dynasty value not the worst, but he's starting Trey Benson, he's starting Jalen Wright. These are guys in his starting lineup at him. Like, these are the best that he has. He's starting Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette, Adonai Mitchell, Jamison Williams. Has no third quarterback at all. He's got ARich and Mahomes, which is good.
You know what? I'm looking at this team. You know what this screams to me, Mike? This is go back to that first trade. It's almost kind of relevant. The way you might think of things, and I'm using it from a frame of reference for myself, by the way. You get really hyped and you're getting into, a handful of leagues, or really into Dynasty. You start thinking about the different classes. What class is good? What class isn't good? 25 sucks. ARich is, going to be the best quarterback to the moon. You know what? I'm in this productive struggle. I got all these youth guys some of them are going to pan out. Now, a lot of these names kind of reminded me, maybe not quite as bad as Quandre, Allison and all these guys, but their relevance could
like Rondell Moore.
Their relevance could be very, very fleeting. Like, honestly though, like Sion Viaki, like Mike, there's a lot of names on here where you're like, okay, but what are we doing now? The point I'm making, Ryan Flournoy, 7th round pick. I'm telling you, there's a lot of these names that's not actually much different than the other side.
Monty Bailey, Nathaniel Pete.
Thank you. But the point I'm making is that you basically tell yourself, all right, the 25 class is not very good. Fuck them picks. I'm going to make the rest of my team great around ARich. And you almost know you're sending away a top 4 pick, but you don't care. That's at least what I feel like I'm viewing based on the entire build of this team, right? Because look, he's got Patrick Mahomes and ARich. He's telling himself, I'm just locking those elite QBs down. The 25 class is ass. I got all these young guys. We're gonna make hell in about 2 years. I don't need them 25 picks. Not the way I'd be going about it, but I can actually I can see the process, or the thought process for it, I should say.
It's just wrong. And then for Schumer,
it's just wrong.
I mean, ARich would have been his number 1 quarterback, but then Jordan Love, right? So you're doing pretty good there. He drafted Jaden Daniels this year. Now that's the guy in his super flex spot. Now he's got Goff kind of as his third, and he also has Drake May still on the team. So he had an excess of quarterbacks. It hurts to trade away Anthony Richardson, but to bet against somebody who's making a horrible fucking mistake, saying fuck them 25 picks. This class is ass. When in reality, it's probably the 101. This dude's fucking shit. The 101 and the 201. This dude's trading away. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm sorry, Corey. I'm sorry I doubted you.
Well, I mean, but the other thing too is, you look at it, right? So now, first of all, Jordan Love is still, I don't know what you want to, how everyone in particular views him, but top 10 to 14 quarterback, however you want to view it. How he played at the back part of last year, he's a plus version of Jared Goff almost. Then you still have Jared Goff in this trade back. You still have a cheaper a younger, more discounted version, let's call it, of ARich with Jaden Daniels. I don't actually think the upside is anywhere near as high with Jaden Daniels, but still a guy that possesses, pretty damn good traits at the quarterback position. So you still have like your security at QB and your upside play of Daniels, and you have Drake May. So, not to mention the lottery ticket of Justin Fields. So I'm perfectly fine with this. He now has 325 first as well, so he kind of can be flexible as to if this thing takes off or if he trades one of these other quarterbacks. Because he does have Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. He got the stack Amon-Ra and Goff. I'm way aboard the process play, given the fact that right now, I mean, it's a top 3 pick. Let's call it that. That much we know.
Book it.
So
remember that old one? Book it. You used to get a pizza.
Book it. Yeah, I do.
Personal pan.
Yep. Dynasty bums. All right, interesting. This trade show started off weird, and it's continuing to get weirder.
What we got here?
Last action
Jonathan
heroes.
Taylor?
So we got JT in the 104, or Bijan and T. Higgins. By the way, that's Malik Neighbors for the record. And I want to hear Mike's side first. So we got 12-team Superflex, 2 tight end PPR, 0.75 tight end premium, best ball start 11.
This one's tough, man. It really is. Mm-hmm. Listen, Bijan over JT. I personally have Neighbors over T, but I love T to death too. Like, I think he's kind of underrated. If he tapped in this week, we kind of did it. we kind of talked a little bit about some receivers and maybe hinted at T. Higgins being on one of these future episodes. So, oh man, this is tough. This is real tough, man. I don't know if I got a clear winner or a clear loser between the two. Bijan, now, listen, it may just be hype and it may be projection, but being free of Arthur Smith, being free of this bullshit, and being able to be Bijan fucking Robinson, like, and without us being so infuriated about his usage and why the fuck Tyler Algier is playing so much, or why Cordell Patterson, their third string running back after he came back from injuries, getting work when Bijan's just sitting there on the sideline like, hey guys, you guys remember me? I'm the one who's made like all the highlight plays for this fucking team this past year, and you guys just leave me on the sidelines. This sucks. Bijan could break fantasy, but I think Jonathan Taylor is really, really fucking good. Really good too. And with him, with ARich, with a full season healthy, he could be special for JT as far as this year. I don't know. I don't think the gap from Bijan to JT is as big as the gap between Malik Neighbors and T. Higgins, at least in the dynasty value community.
Yeah, it's Mr. Wonderful. It's Mr. Wonderful side to me, for sure.
Okay, so for me, that's kind of what makes me lean Mr. Wonderful. But I think it's a very close trade just because I love T. Higgins so much. You know what I mean, Adam? Like,
yeah.
Listen, I'm getting the better running back, and if you think or subscribe to this, like, wide receivers don't matter as much, and you really think that T. Higgins with Joe Burrow and a Bengals offense can produce as much as Malik Neighbors in a shitty Giants offense with Daniel Jones in Malik Neighbors' rookie year, which is a reasonable projection, you might want the Bijan T. Higgins side. You really do. But I think the dynasty community just fucking hates T. Higgins, right? So I'm kind of going to lean into give me what's like hot, and Malik Neighbors is fucking hot. Hot.
So think about it from the reason this trade for me anyway is very clearly on the Mr. Wonderful side. It is put it like this. All right, Malik Neighbors right now, obviously it's going to vary person to person, but he's somebody that's, I don't know, like you and I, Mike, I think have him definitely inside the top 10. Where would you put him right now in dynasty rankings or dynasty wide receiver ranks?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely inside the top 10. Now, this one's tough because I've really started to love Garrett Wilson. It's so weird that I've been like the biggest Garrett Wilson hater.
See that Ohio State in Jigba? You're going to get him with Garrett Wilson.
The fucking jersey. I put one up, and all of a sudden, I'm on your side now. I don't know what it is, Adam. I might just fucking switch, man. It's tough being an Iowa fan, so I want to have some fun. I want to root for Jeremiah Smith this year.
But
Even though
speaking
Will
of
Howard's
which-
a fucking terrible quarterback, by the way.
Well, speaking of which, though, Keep Trade Cut has it 7 and 8. Garrett Wilson 7, Malik Neighbors 8. Right. Crazy
Yeah,
that they have crazy they got AJ Brown down at 9, which at this point it's like, what are we doing to this man? It's just stupid.
To be completely honest, A.J. Brown at 9, I'm just looking at it because I would move Garrett Wilson up. I would put Malik Neighbors somewhere 7, 8, 9, and I think it's very reasonable. He'd be in the same tier.
Right. So that's why I say top 10, because
Yeah.
the point I'm making, though, is this. T. Higgins, even you and I are a little higher on him, right? So this is less to do with T and more to do with Malik. But like T. Higgins right now is kind of, I think, probably a little bit undervalued. But let's just call it like this. Even if he ends up being a solid fantasy option again, something similar to what we've seen from him, with him it's like we've already seen that the magic trick's already been seen. Like he's very much in this cemented range where you need him to produce. And the name cachet of T. Higgins just isn't going to end up moving you anything crazy. Malik Neighbors, just this is with these young guys. Like I'm talking really special talents, top 10 draft capital like he is here. Think about what like Chris Olave is right now.
Yeah.
Now
Nothing.
Chris Olave has shown some really great moments. And he had a pretty decent season last year. I don't want to take too much from the guy. All right, he is totally on the NFL side, giving you very nice production. But he's a top 10 receiver still value-wise going into year 3. To your point, Garrett Wilson, who's actually given a little bit less as far as fantasy points per game, we're still both arguing ahead of him, and we haven't even seen anything yet.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is probably going to have this value insulation for 2 years at least, unless he absolutely flames the fuck out of in the range that he's in right now. But can I tell you what guarantees that if he hits this year off, Daniel Jones, nobody else on this offense, and he pops, good fucking night. Like basically the floor for him and the upside for him are in such a different stratosphere than T. Higgins. And in that position right now in Dynasty, it's just a totally different conversation than the running back position, where basically for me, while you could argue the same type of thing with Bijan Robinson this year, the value of the running back position just doesn't hold that same merit is basically the reason I lean so strongly to that other side.
Unless Bijan were to come out and have a
Like
Christian McCaffrey type
For
season.
sure. And even then, he'd probably be a first-round startup pick, but he's going to be, probably back in first round. I'm not even going to say he's not going to be – he couldn't do that because I think he can. But I guess the point I'm making is like Malik Neighbors, if he pops off, he's in the conversation with those top 4 names, top 5 names, which Marvin Harrison is already there. Like it's just – those guys are just so they're so hard to acquire. So hard to acquire.
Here's a fun one for you. I was working on my my solo video a little bit, and I'm not going to tease too much, but I was looking at South Harmon ADP, and there's a certain running back that is starting to creep towards first-round startup territory already, and that is Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, that's why I say
Redrafters are coming back at him. They're coming back.
and that's why I say, I mean, if he pops off, he's a first-round startup pick. There's no – I don't even think there's much debate on that, I would say. Because I think it'd be interesting to see to how high like his warp is or to what degree he goes crazy. Because with just increased usage, I think we all expect him to do Bijan type things.
Yeah.
But how stupid it gets is will be interesting to watch. Again, this is nearly nothing personal against Bijan, but I think JT also has a lot at the running back position. If I could have a chance of replacing similarly the production. Give me the upside of Malik Neighbors and the tradability there, right? That's kind of the reason I say that side so much.
Malik Neighbors has the chance to do something stupid in his rookie year, too, just because of the sheer amount of target value.
Right.
If there's a Wan'Dale Robinson truther out there, if there's a fucking Jalen Hyatt truther, there's Darius Slayton truther, Daniel Bellinger truther, like, I'm sorry to you, but listen, if the Giants were smart, they just feed Malik Neighbors 180 targets and just move on with themselves. Like, I don't give a fuck who's the quarterback. Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Tommy Cutlets. Just throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. Do us all a favor, please.
Yeah, I don't think there's, to the degree, like it could be a Garrett Wilson type, maybe not even quite as high volume, but like Garrett Wilson type volume, which doesn't amount to much. But guess what? We saw what Garrett Wilson's value did. We saw what Drake London's value did, which was a worse production than that. So his value will be just fine either way. But he has the potential. He has the potential to do something stupid. To your point. All right, big trade here. Big trade. Jalen Polk, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Trey McBride, Kenneth Walker the third. Please say the third. 25 seconds. Bo Nix, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, you get the stack, and Jonathan Taylor, JT is back. 12 team, half PPR, lineup start 9. Transitioning to Superflex. Interesting. We have a I thought we weren't allowed to use that word right now. We don't talk about it. Transitioning. Central Dynasty Superflex. Mike, where are you at? Well, first of all, what do you make of the transition into the Superflex portion of this trade right now? I mean, if that's the case in next year, and then also, what do you think of the trade on its merits?
Because it's imminent, we'll allow it. Otherwise, it would be the first one QE trade ever fucking on this show. So I'm going to treat it as Superflex because it's transitioning, and I respect it for its choices. Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson, 1 QE or Superflex, it's Lamar Jackson all day of the week. Easy. No questions. No questions about it. I mean, that's probably the easiest layup out of this whole trade.
Is what now?
Lamar Jackson versus Justin Herbert.
Oh.
Between the two.
1 for 1, sure. Yeah.
I think the question is, what would you add to Justin Herbert to, make you feel good about coming off Lamar Jackson?
The reason I think, though, it's so important if we're talking about it being basically, 1 year left, and let's just call it Superflex. Like Justin Herbert and Jared Goff, now I'm very interested, even for my Lamar.
Okay.
Like that.
And start 9 though.
Yeah, because versus nothing. I will say it's not nothing. It's Bo Nix, but I just feel like Bo Nix has the potential to be Jared Goff, maybe even better. But the floor of Bo Nix scares me a little more. Now, Lamar Jackson's upside, we just talked about in the deal. What was it? Corey's deal. Lamar wasn't traded, but we talked about in the warp. He could be. We've seen him be the number one outlier fucking dot on that warp map. Yeah. Justin Herbert, I don't think offers that anymore. But I'm just saying, from a standpoint, there you could convince me because it's Jared Goff. I think is still a guy that could give you back in quarterback 1. So while let's say you don't get Lamar's upside at 2.68. If you're telling me Herbert can give you a 1.7 and Jared Goff can give you 1.7 across 2 positions, if Bo Nix flames out, I don't know what else he has on his team. I mean, it could just be worth it if you have another quarterback. But those two I can at least make the conversation for. I think it'd be fair, like those quarterback swaps. But the rest of it, though, I think is a pretty different combo for me. So I'm curious, is it more the quarterback part of the deal or the rest of the pieces that you struggle with in this trade?
I think, at least for me in this, in a start 9 lineup, and if I treat this like Superflex, especially going into 25.
Yeah, I'm already trying to grade it on Superflex, yep.
Herbert, Goff, Jalen Polk in the second, and Lamar, if you wanted to say that part cancels out. Trey McBride and Kenneth Walker versus Mark Andrews and Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to prefer Mark Andrews and Jonathan Taylor to those two. 1, because I have the stack. 2, because I think the difference between Mark Andrews and Trey McBride isn't that big, but the difference between Kenneth Walker and Jonathan Taylor definitely can be very, very big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
I didn't even talk about Bo Nix just essentially as free.
Yeah, I think for me here, the 25-second in Polk. See, I don't know how. I'll just say it like the way I think about it. When I'm looking at a trade, regardless of how big and monstrosity the trade is as far as the amount of pieces, when I start really divvying it up, when I can kind of point to 2 things that really just don't add up, what I mean by that is when you're talking on the value scale, right? These are heavy hitters across this board. I'm looking at Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Kenneth Walker, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Jonathan Taylor. Those for sure are all top 6 rounds of startups. Bo Nix you could make the case that he's not. I think because he's a quarterback in Superflex that's young like this, he's still fitting. Like, he's not too far outside of the really mattering, like, pieces that mean a lot in this deal. Jalen Polk is in a different conversation entirely as far as value goes in Dynasty. 25 second is in a different conversation entirely as far as it goes in Dynasty values. And when I think about it that way, when I'm getting those, if I'm the person that's getting those two pieces, like, I can't have the trade look like this where I win at tight end, let's call it, okay? But it's the fake win because Mark Andrews just is older, but realistically has similar upside to Trey McBride and has already shown you the ability. So you can almost just, you're down tiering there, but still project to have a pretty damn good tight end. And then Lamar, well ahead of Herbert. Taylor ahead of Kenneth Walker. Goff, you probably win against Knicks, but again, it's a trade-off of Superflex quarterback versus what you're losing at the top end. I need to get pieces that are much better than Polk in the second on this top side. And to me, the fact that I can look at all these massive pieces and I'm like, why are these the pieces that I'm getting back? I'm getting nickeled and dimed here. That's kind of the best way to describe this one for me.
So Rippon's team context is stupid for 1 QB. Like, it really is. A 12-team 1 QB. It is stupid good for a one quarterback.
That's why I thought the Superflex spot was going to matter, because if Bo Nix is a Superflex spot, it's not saying he's not a quarterback, but the floor and the upside are their range of outcomes is wide for him.
Now, when I talk about this transitioning to Superflex in 2025,
yeah,
if they add one more spot, it's a start 10. It is a stupid good team for a start 10 because his team is QB1 Josh Allen, QB2 now Lamar Jackson.
Oh, okay. So it's not actually bonus. Yeah. So smash.
Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase, Marvin Harrison, Dalton Kincaid, Puka Nacua, Jonathan Taylor, Drake London. And he also has Bo Nix and Michael Penix as his other quarterbacks just kind of chilling, waiting in the wings.
Yeah, so in a lineup league, start 9, start 10, either one, super shallow format, it's all about the up tier. And basically that's the whole point I was making without knowing all the lab stuff there, Mike, is Jalen Polk in second here in this format. They don't fit this. They don't fit the description here. I don't want these pieces. Actually, as a matter of fact, I want you to take them from me like they're super meaningful. And if Jalen Polk ends up defying the odds and is like a massive warp difference maker, I know what I was trying to do in process. So yeah, the Ripon side was already the case, I think, just on its merits. The more you dig into it, but then when you realize he also knows what the hell he's doing, it's all goons. I don't care if it's lineup start 9, 1 quarterback, or lineup start 10, 2 quarterback, whatever the fuck. It's he's transitioning to greatness. Okay.
Somebody been paying attention.
Yeah, that one's pretty
well
easy.
Prepared.
That one's pretty easy.
And listen, shout out to a league going from the dinosaur of 1 quarterback to Superflex, right? Like, we need to encourage this. We also need to encourage 10-team leagues to go to 12-team leagues. Get a couple more friends. Figure it out.
I will admit that. Now, the Superflex one, in general, getting a team, or a league, to transition to, like, everybody's agreeing, pretty cool. The 10-team to 12-team, I mean, you know how, Mike, when you it's been a while since we've seen them, but these expansion teams come in, they literally ruin quarterback careers, right? You got David Carr, you got Tim Couch. I mean, you have to make an expansion team, especially at the offensive line, that they just get wrecked. In a 10-team league, even if you made an expansion team like that, those 2 teams are going to be so fucking bad. So you might as well just do a whole, y'all do a 12-team league startup. Restart this thing, man.
Speaking of
10-team. So David's Army, you're going to need an army, Mike. Peter with 3 R's, Jalen Hurts in a 25 third, or Goff May in a first. So, Mike, in a 10-team Superflex, scarcity comes down, but it doesn't stop the elite quarterbacks from really mattering. That being said, 3 for 1 or 1 for 3?
3 for 1. It's a 10-team league. You take the elite quarterback. You just move on with your life.
Yeah. You want to. I wasn't sure. The way I thought you were throwing a curveball at me. I'm like, oh no.
No.
But no. Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, this one.
So,
I-
next.
I just skipped it unintentionally, actually, although that was really funny. But Mike, you're a Drake May lover, right? Like,
Yeah, in 10 teams,
but-
it don't fucking matter, though. Right
but like,
now.
I mean,
Really
what would Drake May's career arc have to be, like Justin Herbert level, for this trade to work out for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Without the
gotta be
whole
like-
Harbaugh thing coming years later, like that,
He's got to be like the second coming of Josh Allen.
and then maybe that first means something. Yeah, I can't do it. Next.
Fuck. God damn it, Blitz.
Oh, speaking of listening, we've got
My guy.
Dirt cheap. Speaking of dirt cheap, how about a $25 holla, Mike?
$25 holla. The league's cheap.
12-team Superflex, half PPR, 0.25 tight end premium. You talk about cheap. This is cheap everywhere. The premium's cheap. The half PPR is cheap. Dirt cheap. How about Tyler Lockett now? Castle Black is getting for a third here.
If you're a contending team, man, go out and buy Tyler Lockett for a third. I think the conversation becomes, is Castle Black a contender?
Well,
That's it.
is it?
Maybe. He's in the playoff mix. How about that? It's fine. Like, his team's fine. It's okay.
So I mean, it's a should or could make the playoffs, but not a locked in top 2, top 3. You're telling me?
Yeah, one of the best things. Like, if I would have gone out and seen he didn't have his first and second round pick this year, I'm like, fuck, man, I really can't send my third too for just a speculative buy, right? Like, I'm down to my final few assets. I need to fix some problems. Like, he needs a third quarterback on this team, for sure. Definitely does. Doesn't have one. But he still has his first and a second, so if he can go out in season and buy a third quarterback, he's gravy. It's gravy. He got some dirt cheap production. And then it really makes sense if you look at the other team. The team selling off Tyler Lockett wasn't going to use Tyler Lockett. It's the worst team in the league, by far and away.
Well,
So
he,
does it make
he
sense for
probably
them to
would
sell?
have. He probably would have had to, but it wouldn't have fucking mattered. Yeah, I'm with you. His team, that Tyler Lockett spot, we probably ain't saving that number 1 pick. But here's what I'll say though about it. Right, I think the format in which you're getting Tyler Lockett, it matters in the way that you think about how you're going to utilize him and deploy him. Right. So I look at this team. I feel like for Castle Black, well, I get what you're saying. Like, how do I put this? For a format lineup start 10, okay? So you're looking at the starters here. Like, when I look at the starters, I think, man, this is how you'd probably want to do it. So you got 4 really great potential scorers for you, right? The age of Tyreek Hill, the age of Devontae Adams. I mean, I guess you call it the age of Amari Cooper. He's turning 30 this year, but whatever.
Yep.
Those 3 guys, though, you're kind of almost just really cheaply leaning into it. But the reason I say that the way you want to deploy them, you've got James Conner on this team, you've got Montgomery, you got Joe Mixon. So you got just like these old corpses everywhere where you're just hoping to keep the production going, but obviously all the dynasty values not nearly matching up. But see, I think it's really important in lineup start 10 where if you're adding Lockett to your, like, use the warp tool, okay? Actually, we should pull this up. I'll pull it up. Like, I want to see in this league what the roster construction tab says, because the way I'm looking at this in a lineup start 10 is like, okay, if you are going to utilize Tyler Lockett as kind of the back end of that roster construction where he's your wide receiver 6, wide receiver 7, and basically when you need him, you're just going to put him in your lineup, whether that's bye weeks, injuries, whatever, you're getting a really cheap version of making that construction work. And a lot of times you maybe say, oh, I'd rather have a better wide receiver there. Sure, but what if – I think the inverse is really the way to do it, though. If you can keep Tyler Lockett or someone cheap there where you could put them in and their production could mean something for you, but you can trade a lot of those receivers that are higher up the board to kind of like boost the pipeline, right? Keep the whole roster better afloat, especially at the top. So I think in this format, actually, as long as you aren't adding him as like your wide receiver 9 and holding him there, it's actually a really good play in lineup start 10. But I think it's different where in best ball, I'd add him as my wide receiver 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't care. But in lineup, I think it's just important to understand how the roster construction works and how many receivers you want to have on your team, and kind of utilizing him as the back end of that. I think it could work really well for just a third.
I think you would really want like 6 to 7. Warp Tool also says 6 to 7.
I was gonna guess 6.75. That's like my leagues are like this. It's what it says. Let's see.
He added Tyreek Hill or Tyler
6.33.
He added Tyler Lockett. You could really say that Tyler Lockett is probably his 5th wide receiver.
I was gonna say he's wide receiver 5 for sure.
Right in the range, man. Usable, gonna get used enough where you're not wasting the pick. I like it.
For sure,
like
I do too. And I think then obviously throughout the year you still have your This is one of those that trade so far down the list as far as the picks. You still kept your flexibility. Like if this trade doesn't work out and kind of blows up in your face, and that's the 301, boo fucking who, you'll be fine. Like you still got your first and your second, right? So.
Right.
I kind of like it a lot, but I will say, if you're if you're Nally, however you say it, I think the days of you thinking in lineup start 10, you're getting more than a third. Like you're kind of just dreaming. Like you're not getting a fucking second for this dude. Unless the only way you get a second for this dude is if he goes out and absolutely balls the hell out and like JSN gets hurt. Like, and that'd be the 0.01% outcome. Like it's just not happening. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like Tyler Lockett goes out week 1 and puts up one of his Tyler Lockett 50 burgers.
That's what I'm saying. Like 2 weeks in a row or something, he's a top 10 receiver, and like JSN's hurt.
Yep.
Like sure, there's a chance, but you'd have to think so fucking you'd have to think so. You have to dramify it so much. Yep. It's just not going to happen. A third is a good return if you're trying to go to the bottom from.
I'm glad he got it done. Glad he got it done, man. I tried with force, and they all got declined. So maybe I got to up it. Maybe I got to try with some thirds at him.
I'll tell you what, man. I think in a lineup start 10, you may say like I don't really want Tyler Lockett. I'm not even saying you got to make a trade like that, but I think if you use it kind of in the way Castle Black did, where you're wide receiver 5, 6, 7, something where it's very much within your roster construction where you get injuries or you have bye weeks, just insert Tyler Lockett. Boom. I really like that way.
Or best ball.
Well, in best ball, it's just I don't give a fuck. You just wide receiver 15.
You go buy Tyler Lockett.
Park him on my squad, man.
Yeah.
Park him on my squad.
17. Yeah. He ain't on somebody else's. He's on mine, and he's going to have a few weeks. That's all
exactly.
I need.
Yeah. I mean,
costs a third.
I'll let it burn. If Tyler Lockett burns out and gives you absolutely nothing, I can live with it because I think there's upside there.
With the usher. I thought you were going to hit her with the usher. Let it burn.
Gotta let it burn. $25 holler. I don't think you can let anything burn in that league.
Not for that league. Doesn't cost.
It's too cheap, man. You know what happens when you go to places that cheap? You leave with something you can't get rid of. So
we successfully made fun of poor leagues, and we successfully made fun of one quarterback and 10-team leagues all in the same fucking show. Let's go.
And our league. And our trade.
Yeah, and our league. And our trade. From 3 fucking years ago. Let's go.
Yeah.
We hit all the bingo cards tonight.
I will say, too, Mike, what's that league is called Arkham Asylum, and that still to this day was the most ridiculous, most fun startup I can ever remember being in. Jag, shout out Jag. I don't even know if he watches us anymore. Still my guy. Jag, if you hear this, text me. When you don't text me, I know you don't watch this. He was making trades, man. Like, I'll never forget, he would trade back and then trade up more aggressively, and you're like, the net here is all off. And I remember he did 2 or 3 of those, and we started busting his balls. And then all of a sudden, though, it was crazy. That kind of just snowballed. I talk about, sometimes just all that itching. Basically, everybody else was trying to make trades. The startup trades were going crazy across the whole league, and it was literally, into round 5. And I'm like, I had literally, what is happening? ADP is so different than what we're looking at. The trades and who's lost futures, and that's how I ended up getting all the damn 23 picks. But that thing was absolutely a blast. I wish, Mike, that some people would trade a little more than right now. I feel like I think I've done one startup this offseason because I'm trying to not do that many. But I feel like there's not nearly that many trades that typically go down in startups nowadays. I wish we could relive some of that. Just pandemonium in startups.
Yeah, I'm in one right now, a C2C startup, and I think we've only had 2 trades. total.
How far are you in?
15 rounds. So,
wow.
like
there you
prime
have
trading territory is over.
I'm telling you, that's what I've been doing. I did a 2-part series like about startups, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna cover it about drafting because I'm gonna to go into to talk about the trading and the aspects. There's so many more avenues to talk about there, but I'm like, it's just not gonna be worth it. It's not. No one's gonna use it enough, you know.
Here's an interesting one for you, right? Like you always think when you trade back it around, like you're gonna get something extra, right? Like something
Sure.
to make it worthwhile. I turned down a trade that somebody sent me, right? And the crux of the deal was I trade my 6'11" and my 702 at them, but I get their 6th round pick and their 7th round pick. So I move up in the 6th and I just move back in the 7th. There was no extras attached.
Okay, so they
At
were
all.
gonna give you the pick that they took. They had their pick of the litter. They got their guy, but they saw at the turn you got 2 guys they really fucking love, and they're like, here, you can get what's
that was
left.
it.
And did you decline?
Before the picks were even made for any of those spots, right?
Oh,
Where like normally when you do that, maybe you ask for like a rookie 3rd or you ask for a later pick in the draft. I looked at that trade and I was like, wow, that's an actually like really fair offer, and I fucking declined it for the simple fact, Adam, that I really enjoyed picking at the turn and just being able to double tap 2 positions.
what's interesting though is that to me,
That's how far we've come. Where that shit would never happen 3 years ago.
Whoa.
Somebody would decline that.
what's crazy about that though is like, I'd be curious if you could go look like how many leagues that person's in, because to me that's almost like someone simulating out so many times where they think they know ADP well enough, where they feel like very confidently what's going to come back to them in that 7th round, late part of the 7th round, they must view as a gigantic teardrop, and they think they're getting 2 people by that trade. But it's very interesting because I'll tell you this: when I get offers, or when I used to anyway, back when people seemed to trade like crazy in startups, it was only either a degenerate or someone that plays in like a fucking shit ton of leagues that's sending out like just pick offers well in advance. You know what I mean? Like not in the 1st round, of course. Everybody wants the top 12. Down in the 6th round, well in advance, I'm like, okay, let me think about this here. And there's always either a complete degenerate that's just making insane trades, or someone that's in like 50 leagues, which JCap now
Yes,
has
sir.
the lab, and you can see how many. But interesting.
3 leagues. This
3
person's in.
leagues? That is such a weird offer.
Yeah.
Because
And it's a
if you don't know
C2C
that
startup.
much, yeah, you throw in the C2C wrenches with the picks, but like, how confident can you say that whatever your 2 people are actually going to be there versus why wouldn't they be there in the 7th still, in the back part of the 7th? It just, there's no way you can predict how the startup goes enough to really feel confident about that, especially if you don't play in a lot of leagues. It's just weird. That's just crazy.
There's all kinds of weird shit happening with this league and trades and just where we're at as a community and nobody wanting to make trades. Adam, to your point, at one point I offered my 4th round pick in a startup to somebody for their 11th, 12th, 13th, and 9th round pick. And I got told, like, maybe. But I'll pass.
It's kind of, I think that's where it's got that foam, like kind of like an Arkham, like the FOMO. Like people,
The FOMO.
no, most people don't want to. It's like when you're a kid, man. Nobody wants to be the first one out there dancing all by themselves out there, you know, on the dance floor. But you get everybody out there, and the vibes are all live. Like, all right, let's go. You need 2 or 3 people to make the plunge. Like, just go in with some crazy trades. Like Jag was making a 3rd round startup pick for a future 1st in 23, like something like that to get the whole fucking thing going. You know, now we're talking. But yeah, everyone's just like, it's kind of a decent offer. I'm just gonna make my pick. I feel better just making my pick.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable just not dealing with you. You can't get clowned if you just make your own pick, right? Like, we don't get out here and trade great startup picks every single
Maybe we need to. Maybe that's what we need to do. You know, no one's submitting trades to the trade show. No one will trade with us. You know what we need to do is start clowning the people that aren't making trades on the startups. That's what we do.
Submit your draft.
Yeah.
Submit your draft.
Since you won't submit your trades, patreon.com/South Harmon. Submit your fucking draft, and we're going to roast everyone that didn't make a trade. That'd be
Love
awesome.
it.
That'd be awesome. But
Love it, man.
now we appreciate everybody here.
Thank
If you're
you.
tapped in, make sure that you at least think about going to patreon.com/South Harmon. Submit some trades. I mean, at this point, you might even start off the trade show. We can't get deals done, and maybe the next show will start off with you for $5 a month. And you get to at least talk to some people that might make some startup trades with you. But without us continuing to ramble on, we'll see you back here, same time, same place next week for the Dynasty Trade Show. We're out of this thing. Peace.
Peace.